Okay, good morning to everyone. I am Jano the Orbita and I'm going to present the theories of socialization. So, the social scientists have tried to analyze processes of socialization through different ways. So, in this topic, I'm going to discuss about the three theories, specifically the Cooley's theory of socialization, Mead's theory, and also the psychoanalytic theory of Sigmund Freud. So, the objectives of this report or presentation is firstly to elucidate the different theories of socialization. So, basically, I'm going to explain the different theories of these three significant personalities and also to analyze the link between the mind, self, and society under the Mead theory of socialization. And also, I'm going to compare the main ideas of these known sociologists and neurologists that contributes to the study of socialization. So let's begin to the two theory of socialization. First is Cooley's theory of socialization. So the theory of Cooley is also known as looking glass self theory. So this looking glass of theory, it means is literally like a person or basically like you are looking in front of the mirror. So mirror or what are you going to do in front of the mirror? You're going to reflect yourself. Like for example, you're going to judge how do you appear to other person or to the others. And the second one is what is your judgment about your appearance? And then after that, you're going to have a reflection or internalization about your appearance. So in this looking glass of theory, this is basically the first step of self-development, wherein you're going to reflect on yourself, like how you must appear to others, and also how will you judge yourself? Are you going to have a pride to yourself, and also are you going to have a mortification or shame about yourself or shame about your appearance? And after that, you're going to have a you're going to have an internalization or reflection about your wholeness or about the wholeness of your personality or about the wholeness of your appearance. And then the connection of Cooley's theory of socialization to Mead's theory of socialization is that the looking glass of theory is just the first step of self-development. And then the next step is under the Mead's theory of socialization. Now, what is the Mead's theory of socialization? So we have here the what they call this symbolism or other known or also known as the role taking, wherein literally the students, what I mean is the children's they're going to take the roles of significant others or also the generalized others. So what are the significant others? So when we say significant others, these are the persons or personalities that is common to the child. So, like for example, the significant others is your family, your parents, your siblings. So those are the significant others of the child. And also the last stage is the generalized others. But before that, let's proceed first to the beginning part of the needs theory of socialization. So the beginning part is the conventional gestures, wherein according to Mead is the conventional gestures, these are the actions with common meanings. Common meanings to what? Common to you and also common to the significant others. You're going to mimic or imitate their gestures. And then the second stage is you're going to have a play, wherein the literal meaning of the second stage, the play, is the child is where whenever the child is going to have a play, he or she is going to imitate or mimic the role of the significant others. Like, for example, what is the role of a mother? What is the role of a father? And also, what are the roles of your siblings? They're going to mimic, like, for example, this Filipino game, like the Bahay-Bahayan. And then they're going to kind of mimic or imitate the movement, the action, and also the role of these significant others inside their house. How do they play inside their house? Like what are the actions that the mothers can do, and also what are the actions that your siblings can do? So that is the play. So after the play stage is we're going to have the stage of game, wherein in this game is there is or we're going to have this conversion of I and me, wherein the meaning of I and me is I'm going to explain first what is the meaning of I. So the meaning of I is Basically, it is you, I. Okay, you don't care to the other persons. You're going to care all about you yourself. Okay, and then the conversion of this from I or from you is into me. So that conversion is you're going to interact to the others. Like for example, the stage or the first step is I. You're going to have a interaction only to yourself. Like you're going to have a play, you're going to have realization or internalization, and then after that, you're going to converse from I into me. So that me is yourself with socialization to the generalized others or to the larger scope, or you're not just going to what do you call this, communicate or interact your significant others. Rather, you're going to have or you're going to socialize to the generalized others, wherein the generalized others is the last stage of Mead's theory of socialization. So these generalized others, you're not only going to care about the significant others or your known personalities. Rather, you're going to socialize to the generalized others or to your community. How are you going to interpret the culture, the belief of the community? How are you going to interpret the behavior of the other persons rather than to your significant others? So that is the needs theory of socialization, and also that is the link or connection of Cooley's theory of socialization to Mead's theory of socialization. The next one is we have the Freud's psychoanalytic theory of socialization. So this psychoanalytic theory of Sigmund Freud if is we're going to have this three main regions of mind wherein we have this conscious, preconscious, and unconscious. Okay, so before that, we're going to start first on the beginning part, which is the unconscious part. So the unconscious part is it is the state of mind wherein you're not being aware of something. Okay, so in short, the keyword of unconscious or unconsciousness, this is the state of mind of you're not being aware. Okay, and when we say preconscious, basically you're not totally aware, but rather you have this kind of memories that you can easily restore or recall or review, to compare to unconscious. In unconscious part is you cannot recall, review, or recap some memories because your mind is not aware or you cannot store. Okay, but in preconscious state, you can simply recall, but partly you are unconscious and conscious. Okay, and then the last stage or the last region, what I mean is the conscious part. So the conscious part, it is the state of mind that you are now aware. So the conscious is the opposite side of the unconscious part. Okay, so the unconscious part is your mind is not aware, conscious part is you are aware, and then the preconscious part is your mind is partly your mind is unconscious and partly is it is conscious, and you can restore and recap some memories. Okay, and then we have also this personality development. According to Sigmund Freud, we have the id, ego, and superego. Wherein mainly we have the id and superego because the ego is it is us. We are the deciding agent. So let us define first what is id. So when we say id, this is the first developed stage. Why? Because from birth to the childhood, the id developed first. Why? Because the id, it only means or its goal or its purpose is to achieve your needs, to supply your needs. So that is the id. And how about the superego, sir? So if the id is you're going to supply your needs, or you just don't care to the others, you just care to yourself. But according to superego, you're not going to care all about yourself. You're going to have a conscience in this part in superego, wherein you can control yourself. Like, are you going to care only to yourself, or are you going to go to care also about the others? So what will be the decision? That is the part now of the ego. Okay, the ego will balance the id and superego. The ego is the deciding agent, wherein this stage is you're going to balance the id and superego. what do you have, or why do the ego needs to maintain the equilibrium of id and superego? The consequence is that if you as a deciding, or as the deciding agent, or you as the ego, if you did not balance this one, the one might dominate the other ones. Like for example, if you're going to follow only your id, you're going to have this um, very greed personality. But if you're going to dominate, or if you're going to follow only the superego and not going to supply the needs of id, is you're going to have this kind of rigid personality. So the obligation or the responsibility of ego is to balance these um, two aspects, this id and superego. So that is the theories of socialization, and I'm going to present also the supplementary video to support my discussion. But before that, let's proceed to the three assessment questions. First, we have these. Question number one: what is socialization and what role does it play in human development? Second is: how can you relate Cooley's theory of socialization to Mead's theory? And the third one is: if we are the ego, how can we maintain the equilibrium of id and superego in the decision making? So here is the video presentation.
Charles Horton Cooley built on Locke's ideas. His theory is called the looking glass self. Right? So he said that infants have no sense of person or place. They develop an image of themselves based on how others see them. So other people act as a mirror, reflecting back an image that a child projects through their reactions to a child's behavior. Those reactions being those sanctions that we had talked about. All right, so the theory puts a great deal of responsibility on interaction. So first we imagine how we appear to others. Then, based on others' reactions to us, we determine whether others view us the same way we view ourselves. And then we use these perceptions of how others see us to develop feelings about ourselves. Right? It might be something like, let's say that you think you're funny. So you tell a joke. Based on others' reactions, you will then reevaluate whether or not you really are funny. The thing about Cooley's looking glass self is that you're basing it on how you think others view us. So it's possible to misskew or to mistake how others view us. We value ourselves according to how we imagine others judge us, and this can be especially damaging if we have a distorted view. So if we're thinking that people are critical of us when they're not really, or if we think people have a negative view of us, but that's not the case. All right, the selfie is a great example of the looking glass self, a time in which we can put something out there, right? And then based on how others respond to that, we then make the judgment about ourselves. Part of that is something we do call impression management. So we want to influence, we want to put our best face forward when we're, asking people for feedback. Right? George Herbert Mead's built on Cooley's. His is called role taking. So this is more about the action. So that people not only come to see themselves as others see them, but then they also take on or pretend to take on the roles of others through imitation, play, and games. This process enables people to anticipate what is expected of them. Right? So the goal is to internalize expectations. Before you get there, though, people will mimic, and then they'll play, and then they'll begin to interact with others through games. All right, now for Mead, there are some people that are most important, our significant others. All right, these have the biggest impact on our role taking. Right, there's also the generalized others, the expectations of society. These will be important more like junior high, high school, beyond. All right, and it is through this role taking that we develop a sense of self. He called it the I and the me. The I being the instinctualized part, unsocialized, spontaneous, self-interested, and the me becomes once we've internalized these expectations. Throughout life, I becomes weaker and the me becomes stronger, and that's as we internalize, as we conform.
Freud was the first to discuss the unconscious mind and its role in human behavior. Freud believed that there were three levels of consciousness. First is the unconscious mind, which exists outside of your awareness at all times. Next is the preconscious mind, which includes all information that you are not currently aware of, but that can be recalled. Finally, the conscious mind is your current state of awareness. Remember the cartoons you used to watch as a child? The main character is confronted with a choice. On his left shoulder is a little devil pushing him toward a bad choice. On his right shoulder, a little angel is encouraging him to make a good choice. He is stuck in the middle and forced to make a decision that will affect him. This scenario is much like Freud's theory of personality. There are 3 parts to personality according to Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory. These are the id, superego, and ego. The id is the first to develop, the ego is second, and the superego is the last to develop. The id is the biological component of the personality and includes your instincts. The id operates in our unconscious mind. It is like the little devil sitting on the cartoon character's shoulder that's always selfish and needy. It operates according to the pleasure principle. The pleasure principle is the idea that all of your needs should be met immediately. Then there's the superego. The superego exists in all 3 levels of consciousness. The superego is like the little angel. It is always concerned with what is socially acceptable. The superego pushes you to obtain the ego ideal, or your view of what is right. It also represents your conscience, or your view of what is considered to be wrong. Finally, we have the ego. The ego operates in your preconscious and conscious mind. The ego is part of the personality that makes your decisions. This is like the cartoon character in the example. The ego is in the middle, makes the decision, and faces the consequences.
Charles Horton Cooley built on Locke's ideas. His theory is called the looking glass self. Right? So he
Okay,
said
so
that
that will be
infants,
the last
infants have
presentation.
no sense
I
of
hope that you
person or
understand
place.
my
They
discussion and
develop
also
an
the
image of themselves
video
based on how
presentation.
others see
That will
them.
be all. Thank you.
So other people